never lived in Idaho before, you might be surprised by the housing here. Hi, I'm Marcie Ellison. I'm a local real estate agent here in the Boise, Idaho area, and my team and I help tons of families and retirees just like you relocate to Idaho from other states. And we have asked recently a number of our clients what they didn't know about living in Idaho and what they wish they had known before moving here. And honestly, I was pretty surprised by some of their answers, and I figured you might be too. So in today's video, that's what we're going to be tackling. And as I go through these, if you have any questions or if you want to know any more information about any of the things I'm about to talk about, or perhaps you've moved here from out of state and have something to share, please post it in the comment section below because I would love to hear your thoughts and I know other viewers will as well. So for starters, most homes here in Idaho, especially in the Boise, Idaho area, are located in neighborhoods with HOAs and CCRs. Now, of course, there are neighborhoods that are not included in subdivisions with homes that typically sit on a bit more land. But you're going to find that most homes here are located inside of a neighborhood with one or two entrances. These neighborhoods can vary greatly in size and can sometimes range from, say, around 50 houses, or you can have a much larger neighborhood, which are closer to 1,000. Now, one thing that we have found from out-of-state clients who've moved here from more populated states such as Florida or California is that our communities here in Idaho are still much smaller than many of the master plan communities that they have in those states. Many of our neighborhoods here in Idaho have HOAs, with the HOA fees being used to maintain common areas and shared amenities such as pools, tennis courts, pickleballs, playgrounds, community gyms, all of those things. And then, yep, there will also be some rules and regulations that you're going to have to follow. But one thing that I've found, and especially from our Florida clients, is that the HOA fees here are much, much lower than what they're typically paying over there. And that's really also true for the majority of our clients who've moved here from California as well. Cost-wise, typically we see HOA fees ranging from anywhere between $300 a year up to about $1,800 in some of our bigger communities, and so those that have all the bells and whistles. So for communities with HOA fees that range around a few hundred per year, typically those are the communities that don't have multiple community pools or even a community pool, playgrounds, tennis courts, and all of those things. But instead, those minimal fees are typically used for any shared landscaping costs and perhaps maintaining community water features, ponds, or walking paths. Keep in mind though that HOAs can provide that peace of mind that your neighborhood is always going to look good and that, well, your neighbors won't be allowed to do anything completely crazy like paint their house neon orange or something like that.
Man's crazy, loco.
So having some rules and parameters in place can definitely help maintain property values. Now, some people don't want to be in a neighborhood with rules, and in some communities with stricter CCRs, so CCR stands for Community Covenants and Restrictions, you might not be able to have your own little backyard funny farm with goats, ducks, and chickens, or park your RV or boat out front. Those kinds of things might be no-goes. So if that is not what you're looking for, we will need to be sure we're looking for a house that is outside of a neighborhood with HOAs and CCRs. So another surprising thing that some of our clients have found is that because some of these neighborhoods tend to be a little on the larger side, and if there is only one or two entrances, and depending on where your home is situated in that neighborhood and when you need to be coming and going from it, it can in some cases take you 5 or even 10 minutes just to get out of your neighborhood. And if that's going to irk you, then we will need to be cognizant of how many different entrances there are in your neighborhood so that you can know what to expect. And then if, say, there is an elementary or middle school right in your community, obviously there will be more traffic time around drop-off and pickup times during the week. Another thing that our clients have been surprised about is that you can't just walk out of your house, hop into your car, and be at the grocery store of your choice in 3 minutes. And that's largely because of the way the cities across the Treasure Valley were developed and really the lack of planning in some cases. There might just be a little more twisting and turning and red lights, and of course roundabouts, because here in Idaho, well, over the last few years, we have really gotten all about the roundabouts, it would seem. So yeah, there is a good chance you might have to go through that to get to your favorite coffee shop, store, or restaurant. So one of our clients who moved here from Florida last year recently told us that she was surprised that it takes her about 20 to 25 minutes to get to Costco, even though it's not that far from her house. So before they moved here, they looked up the distance on a map and thought, sheesh, only 4 miles to Costco? That means we can get there in what, like 6-8 minutes max? But due to the way the roads are laid out and where she's situated in her neighborhood, and then add in all the road construction we currently have here across the valley, it takes quite a bit longer than they'd expected. Whereas the master plan communities that they left in Florida, where everything was just really kind of perfectly laid out and there were multiple ways to get to things, yeah, that just might not be the case here. So that's just one more thing that you are going to want to keep in mind and possibly be ready to adjust to. Or then another thing that both our Florida clients and our Arizona clients have repeatedly noted is our general lack of tile flooring in our homes here in Idaho. Now, if you're used to mainly having tile flooring in your home, you're going to find that here in Idaho, there's a huge difference, especially in the layout, look, and feel of many of our homes. We definitely have more traditional homes here in Idaho, and although you may find tile flooring in the bathrooms and maybe the laundry room and or like the mudroom area, generally you're gonna find much more hardwood, LVP, and then typically carpet in the bedrooms. And then another surprising thing for some to discover is that here in Idaho, and especially in the kitchen, you can and will quite often see a lot of hardwood. And again, yes, even in the kitchen, which surprises people. And then we have also had several clients now ask us about what the deal is with all the highland cow pictures. And yep, just about every other house we go into has that artistic picture of a cow with that almost stuffed animal-like gorgeous mane of hair. And well, there are a lot of homes and home decor here that is influenced by that farmhouse style. So brace yourself for that Joanna Gaines farmhouse, vibe and look, because you're gonna see a lot of it throughout a lot of homes. And then, yep, on that same vein, you are also going to see related details and styles like shiplap and increasingly wallpaper accent walls, and yep, those barn doors. You're going to see them, and most likely quite a lot of them. One thing you are not going to find as much here in Idaho is that super modern housing style. Yes, there is some, but really Idaho's version of modern isn't really even in the same hemisphere of what modern means in several other states such as California or Florida.
Not quite the same.
Now, I should press pause here really quickly because I don't want you to think that we don't have any super modern homes, because we do. But well, if that super modern look and vibe is really what you're going for, your search might just take us a little bit longer, and or you might want to consider going full custom or even semi-custom to get what you truly want. And then we have also found that people, especially from areas like Florida and California, are often surprised to learn that we actually have a much wider variety of home sizes and really levels than they initially think. For whatever reason, people tend to think that we really only have 2-story homes here, but we actually have a large number of single-level homes or single-level homes with upstairs bonus rooms. We do not typically see as many tri-level homes here, but occasionally we do. They just aren't as common as they are in many other highly populated states because, well, our lot sizes tend to be a bit larger here than you typically see in those highly populated areas as well. Now, another question that frequently comes up is in regard to basements and attics. And depending on where you're coming from, the thought of having a basement might sound incredible to you. But then again, maybe not.
No, not at all.
Most homes here in Idaho, especially those that are on the newer side, do not have basements. And this is really due, especially where I am located in Boise's Treasure Valley, it's due to our high water table as well as our abundance of rivers, aquifers, and irrigation systems. Building basements in such conditions increases the risk of flooding and water damage. So therefore, basements here are really less practical. And then additionally, in some areas of Idaho, the soil just isn't conducive for basement construction. So for example, in areas with heavy clay-like soil, well, that soil expands and contracts with moisture, which can lead to major structural challenges for basements. So instead, many homeowners and builders opt for slab-on-grade foundations and crawl spaces. And now, let's talk about our garages. Here in Idaho, one thing you will likely note quite quickly is, well, we sure do love our garages here. And we've found that to many who move here from areas such as Massachusetts or New York or from the Midwest, our love of garages, and typically big garages, surprises people. And well, Idaho is a state that is all about outdoor adventure and play. So we tend to accumulate a lot of toys. And then in addition to our kayaks, paddleboards, boats, and RVs, we also have colder winter months. And well, if you've ever had to go out to your car covered in snow with hot water to melt the windshields and get the kids to school, then well, that's literally how I grew up on a ranch. But anyhow, if you've had that experience, then you know that having the option to instead hop into a warm and completely ice and snow-free car is quite preferable.
So much better.
Yeah.
And then we've also had people actually just laugh when they walk into some of the huge RV garages that we have so many of here. But you know, with that said, as of today anyhow, everyone who we know who ended up buying a home with a slightly, or in some cases, a much bigger garage than they initially were thinking that they wanted, well, to date, no one has called us up to say that they wish that they'd gone with a smaller garage. And then another thing that surprises a lot of people who move here from out of state is just how many visitors they end up having come to visit. Even those people who initially met them with blank stares and just sort of blinked when they mentioned that they were going to move to that land of potatoes, they're oftentimes the very first people to come and visit. And fair enough, Idaho's beautiful landscapes with all of our incredible mountains, lakes, and rivers really make it a spectacular place to come visit. So please note that chances are you might just want to buy a home with a guest room, or you might want to make plans to have a Murphy bed or a futon in your office or bonus room, because I think you'll be quite surprised by how often you'll find that you're using them. Okay, so now let's talk about our water here. When we are looking at homes with relocation clients, sometimes they get a little concerned when they discover just how many homes have not only a full house filtration system for water, but also a reverse osmosis system under the sinks, and then also a water softener in the garage. Sometimes seeing all three of those can really throw some red flags up. So here is the deal. Here in Idaho, our water is hard. You and your appliances will likely find that you want to have a water softener, or if you don't want to buy and own one, renting one is an option here as well. And then due to all of our surrounding agricultural areas and ranches and our close proximity to rivers and lakes, many people find that they prefer having a full water filtration system, or at a minimum, a reverse osmosis system under the sink. So just a heads up on that, as it's something that sometimes throws people a bit. And then on a similar note, we've found that oftentimes the same people who are sometimes thrown by all the water filtration systems they see, they're also curious when they see humidifiers. And that is especially true for our clients who are moving here from places with super high humidity, such as Louisiana, Michigan, and Florida. Since Idaho is among the least humid states in the nation, some people end up buying humidifiers to actually add humidity to their homes. And yep, depending on where you're coming from, that might sound a little bit batty. But trust me, when my kiddos or myself and my husband, when we get head colds and are congested, we sure are grateful for our humidifier. Do we have it on and do we use it every single day? Certainly not even close. But do we know people who do? Yes, absolutely. So now let's move to another so glamorous topic. Let's talk about trash pickup. A lot of our clients are accustomed to having trash pickup and waste services included in their taxes, but that is not something that's typically the case here in Idaho. In most places, you will need to pay a city sanitation company a yearly, or more commonly a monthly fee to come and get your trash. And there are some areas where people utilize local dumps, especially in the more rural areas. But in most regions across Idaho, that is a separate utility that you will be paying, unless you live in a community that includes that in the HOA fees. And then for those who live outside of areas that the city sanitation teams service, there are, in most places, additional pickup services that you can hire on a weekly or monthly basis. So unless you want to be driving around with your bags of trash in the car, making your way to the dump, I just go ahead and get a service dialed and ready to help with that. But of course, to each their own.
It's one less thing to worry about.
And now this next one isn't shocking information for our clients who move here from, say, Texas or Arizona. But people who move to Idaho from, say, some areas in northern Colorado or Wyoming or Washington State, sometimes they're surprised to find that here in Idaho, just about every single house has AC. This was something that was super funny to us. Just a few months ago, we had a client who's moving here from the Oregon coast. And in every single room she went into, she would point out the air vent and say, "Oh wow, there's an air vent." And then, "Wow, there's air in here too." Once we got to the fourth or fifth room, I turned to her and said, "Yes, there's air in every single room in the house. It's pretty much a necessity here." And well, she is now looking forward to moving into her fully air-conditioned home next month, which I have assured her she will be incredibly grateful for come late July when our summer really starts to heat up. Another thing that people are often not accustomed to is our rain chains. We have lost count of how many clients we've had from really all over the country. So this one isn't really regionally or state specific, who've pointed out our chain gutter systems and asked what the deal is. It turns out that here in Idaho, our chain gutter system, which is to us just seems pretty standard and really not anything we often even notice or think to mention, well, this is something that is very different for many people moving here from other states. So yep, this is what you're going to see, and you're going to see a lot of them across the state. Basically, in addition to being visually appealing, or at least many people think they are, they can also offer a soothing sound that some people really like. And they can also reduce splashing by effectively directing water away from the roof and the foundation, and basically just minimizing splashing. And then some people just like that they are less bulky than your typical downspouts. Okay, so now let's talk about window screens. This is something we have been asked about by a number of clients coming from California. And I guess where they're at, they often open up their windows at night to cool off their homes. And due to the energy costs there, well, if they can cool off their homes for free opposed to running the AC, that's a significant perk. And anyhow, while it also typically cools off in our evenings here in Idaho, so that is certainly an option for us, having screens in the windows that we're going to open is a must for most Idaho residents or those who routinely want to open their windows, because we do have moths, as well as other bugs, of course, but the moths are a big one. So you will definitely want window screens in your windows that you will be opening on a regular basis to get all that fresh air in, and well, your sweaters will thank you too.
Moths? Moths? Ate 3 boxes?
And then also, and this one might not faze you in the slightest, or it might really, for lack of a better phrase, kill your buzz a bit. Here in Idaho, not only do we have liquor licensing laws, which basically means that if you want hard alcohol, you will have to go to a dedicated liquor store to get it, as our regular grocery stores, gas stations, and convenience stores cannot sell it. You can buy beer and wine at those places, but not hard alcohol. And then also, even though this is not the case in most of our neighboring states, here in Idaho, marijuana is illegal. It is said that the dispensary that is located right in Ontario, Oregon, which is right on the border of Oregon and Idaho, is the busiest dispensary across the entire Pacific Northwest.
Well, that is very interesting.
And then another thing to throw in here is in regard to flood insurance. Now, we have had clients from Louisiana and Florida who were concerned about their house being in a flood zone and needing flood insurance. That typically is not a thing here in Idaho or right here in the Boise Treasure Valley. That said, there are some areas, especially those that are right on the river, where flood insurance might be required. So if you are looking at, say, Zillow or Realtor.com and you see something about flood risk, please call us before you freak out. We've had several clients call us concerned when they see that their home, or rather the home that they were under contract to buy, has been flagged as being in a high-risk flood zone on Zillow. And well, in all 3 of those cases, Zillow was 100% incorrect. So before you allow any of that info, which is being pulled into those sites from, honestly, we have no idea where, definitely not FEMA though, please call us beforehand so you don't waste time getting too overly concerned about it without a good reason. If you're curious to know more about this topic, we have a full video that we dive into it that I will link in the description of this video for you to check out. Now, one more thing that I have to point out that clients have again and again and again shared with us, It's just how incredibly friendly and nice people are here in Idaho. And for what it's worth, we have heard that from people on both ends of the political fence. So from both strongly conservative Republicans and far left-leaning Democrats. People here are friendly, going to the grocery store, interacting with servers at restaurants and bars, or even just the staff who run the free breakfast area in your hotel. People here are truly incredibly friendly and welcoming. And really, every single time someone tells us this, it always makes me so happy to hear. I just never get sick of being reminded of how friendly Idahoans really are, and really just how lucky I am to take that part of my daily life for granted. Does any of this stand out as being just vastly different from the state you're currently living in? Please let me know down in the comments section. I would love to hear about what differences you've noticed about being here in Idaho. And please don't forget to take 2 seconds to jot down my phone number so you have it on hand if and when you are ready to take that next step and connect, and we can discuss what a move to Idaho might be like for you and whomever it is who's moving alongside of you. Thank you so much for joining me today, and I will see you next time.